Okay, I just wanted to make a quick video update for you on the condition of your instrument. It's been very humid out. That humidity has broken in the last few days, but for most of August, or at least the last 3 weeks of August, it was extremely humid out. And what that does to the piano is it swells all of the wooden components. So I'm going to back up so I can speak with my hands. So the soundboard of the piano is a crown. On a grand piano, it's like an arched ceiling. And on an upright, it's like a belly pushing out. And it's designed to be at a very specific curvature so that it rings. Basically, the speaker of the piano is the soundboard. And it's at that curve for two reasons. It's been forced to be in that shape in the factory, and there's down-bearing exertion from the wire. So there's a tug of war happening on the wire, but there's also down-bearing so that the speaking length delivers the friction, delivers the force from the wire to the soundboard. And there's two reasons why a piano will go out of tune, and they are related. So what we encountered today with the piano was that it started out as sharp. And this has to do with the cells of the soundboard being swollen and the crown of the soundboard sitting in an exaggerated posture. And what I had to do was back off tension to allow the soundboard to relax a little. And that change in the soundboard floated on me. So areas where I started didn't stay where I put them. And I tried to reiterate with the temperament, and especially going down into the bass where the tension is highest, those long wires, but it still floated on me. And in one way, the out of tuneness of the piano is a symptom, but the cause has not been addressed, and that is that the wood is still swollen. So it's the concert of the two events. However much moisture it drinks up in the summer, it's forced to give back in the winter. And the way that the weather has been in the last few years, we've seen wetter, longer autumns, where you can have rain straight through to December even, and then these really Arctic blasts in January and February. So we've rebalanced the piano. It's a dramatic improvement. It's at a 440, but like I said, because of the changes in the down-bearing tension, it's floating on me a little. But we haven't addressed the root cause, which is that the soundboard is swollen with humidity. It is a high-quality piano. It is a high-tension instrument, so it is designed to breathe uniformly. With inferior soundboards, they don't breathe uniformly, and you get like dramatic changes in one area or the other. But it is a really high tension instrument, and so when you are changing the down bearing, it really does affect the crown of the board. And there's no way to rush that. It's going to take about 3 weeks for this to settle out. And at that point, we can retune again. I don't think it's imperative that we retune again, but trust your ear. If there are notes or intervals that are bothersome, then we may want to tune again. And then, we're going to get into autumn, and it's a little unpredictable when the heat will be aggressively dry. You probably have something in your boiler system that adds a certain amount of moisture to the air. That's obviously better than how aggressively dry it gets outside. So again, trust your ear going into the winter. And if the weather is relatively mild and we have the heat on, but we don't have snow continually on the ground, then we may be able to hold off. But I anticipate that when we get into cold, dry air, that all the moisture that's been drunk up like a sponge by your soundboard is going to be outgassed, and we're going to lose the tuning then. So in a way, tuning in this condition when the soundboard was swollen was less of an uphill battle because of the time in between tunings based on COVID. And this is the other reason why pianos go out of tune, is if you let a piano go for too long between tunings, then the seasonal swelling and contracting, you just lose tension overall. So we were overdue, but the timing of today's tuning and the last month's worth of weather means that it was less of an uphill battle than it otherwise would have been. But it still leaves us with this question mark of how much outgassing is the soundboard going to do. And I also noticed, let me put the lid up here, just bear with me. I noticed while tuning, hopefully the camera will get this. See if there's a good angle. Not quite sure if the camera's getting this. There's these lines here, and those are grain marks. So, you know, a modern piano is laminations of Sitka spruce glued together. And so those lines that we're seeing, you could lift the lid and see them yourself on the soundboard. Those are little ridge lines where those laminations of wood are expanding at slightly different rates. And so there's a physical indication of how much moisture the soundboard has drunk up. And the concern is that we get into aggressive weather and that we damage the soundboard from such extreme changes. So a humidity gauge, knowing what the humidity is in this room, you know, when we get into winter, that would be extremely helpful. Like I said, you probably have something in your boiler that adds moisture to the air. The piano wants 41% humidity. You will never get it to 41% humidity in Vermont when it's aggressive out. It will all freeze on your windows and then melt down and rot your windowsills. There is a humidity control system for the piano, which is called the Damp Chaser. It is spelled with 2 P's, Damp Chaser. And you can Google that. Because it's a large instrument, this instrument would need a system with 2 reservoirs in it. The Damp Chaser has 3 major components. There is a brain of the unit, which senses the relative humidity of the air in the concave under the soundboard. And then there's a humidifying element which adds moisture all winter long, and a dehumidifying element which removes moisture all summer long, so that these extremes are minimized. But with the weather that we had in August, even pianos that had damp chasers were insanely swollen, even with the system working against it. So I think I'd have to check the exact price, but you'd be over $1,000 installing that, probably closer to $1,200. A smaller grand system is, you know, 700, 750. So I'd have to check the exact price. It's not imperative, but it is a good candidate. But a lot of this just depends on what you're able to do for the room during the winter. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Like I said, the piano is a dramatic improvement. There's no reason not to play, but I definitely noticed areas that were floating on me from the down bearing change. No sooner than 3 weeks, the piano will be stable to visit again if we like. But trust your ear.